Hello, this is a short tutorial that will illustrate how to make 1 to 10,000 images from Google Earth Pro that you can use as base maps or field slips for your map and thesis exercises. I'll be using free open source drawing software called Inkscape and a free online percentage calculator you can find at coolconversion.com. So, download Google Earth Pro if you haven't done so already and open it. Type in the area that you're interested in mapping in the search box at the top. Hit the search button and it will zoom to the area you need to go to. Now the only thing you need to see on the image at this stage is the scale bar at the bottom, and if this is not showing, go to the View tab and make sure that the scale legend is selected, and everything else on there you don't really need. You need the toolbar and sidebar as well. If you click anywhere on the image, a little hand will appear and you can move the image around so you can get to the area you want. Now, one thing you make note of is that the scale is changing as you're moving around. The way to keep that scale bar, the scale from moving as you move around the map, is a function of the elevation, the terrain. So normally that's set to 1 by default, so make sure that's set at 0.01 as it is in this place, in this section. So we click on that. Now if we move it around, you'll see that scale bar is not moving. The scale is not changing as you're moving around, and that's how we want it. There are 2 more things that need to be set in order to ensure the images to be saved are consistent when stitched together without any discrepancies when you get a bit further along with this tutorial. And that is to make sure the view you are saving is A, directly from above and not at an incline, and B, the orientation is to the north. The way to get a bird's eye view is to click on the down arrow inside the top round dial. You'll find that dial in the top right hand corner of the Google Earth screen. This has a little square with N on the outer ring. Click on the down arrow until the image stops moving. This now means you have a bird's eye view. To align the image to the north, click on the little square with the N in it once. The image is now aligned to the north, and if you play around with these 2 settings, you will see how the image changes in its projection and inclination. We need to get the scale legend equal to 1,000 meters. The way to do this is using the slider on the right hand side, just underneath the orange man. And as we zoom in, you can see those figures changing. You get as close as you can to 1,000, and then there is a little trick where you can get it even closer, and that's to hold down the Alt key and use the plus and minus keys on your numeric keyboard. So if you have a look, it's little taps and you can get it more or less spot on after a few goes. There we go, that's 1,000. So now you can move the area, move the image around to the area you want. That scale's not changing and it's what you need. The next thing we need to do is save the image. On the top here on the toolbars, the 3rd button from the right is a save image. As you click it, you'll see various features appear on your image, which we don't really need. Go to Map Options, unclick the title and description, unclick the legend, and I would say leave the compass, which shows you north arrow, and the scale. And just move away from it. You'll notice the scale is saying 1 kilometer. We're happy with that image. I'm going to click Save Image, and we'll save it to a location where you're happy with. Give the image a name. What I suggest you do is you take images for your complete mapping area at this stage, so while the scale is still constant. So I'm just going to move it along adjacently, making sure there's an overlap, and I'll save this image the same location. I'll move it down again with a slight overlap, save it, move it across, overlap. Once you're happy with all your images, you can close down Google Earth and we'll move on to the next stage. I'm using a downloaded free software program called Inkscape for the next bit, which is what I'm going to use to scale the Google Earth images that we've captured from Google Earth. So I'm going to open up Inkscape. This will appear, and what I need to do is go to File, Import, and import the first image that I took. So open it, leave all the parameters as given, and the image will appear there. We can zoom in on this to see that 1 kilometer line there and the image. So this is the image we got off Google Earth at the scale that we wanted. Now what we want to do is make this scale here, this line here, equal to 10 centimeters in real life on this bit of paper. The way I'm going to do this is drawing a straight line with the Bezier tool. Now at the moment we don't know how long that line is. If I select it, you'll see properties appear at the top. Now that's the figure we want, which is important, and we want to change that to 100. That line now is 10 centimeters long. This 10 centimeter line is what we need for 1 to 10,000 maps. Now what we want to do is make this 1 kilometer line on the Google Earth image the same size as this. And the accurate way of doing this is, again, we will draw another line roughly the same size as that one. And again, you can't see how big it is until we select it. Now, what you need to do is remember that number, 72.16. So this is where we go to our freebie website with the percentage calculator called conversion. And I want to know what the percentage increase is of 72.16 to 100. And that's saying 38.58%, so we'll make a note of that number. So coming back to our Google Earth image on Inkscape, where you can get rid of this line, so it's not in the way. We'll move this line a bit further out of the way. Now, if I select this image, I want to be able to increase that image by 35.8%. So then that line should become the same as this line. Now the way to do this is, if we go to Object, Transform, and this sidebar comes up. Let's just open it out a bit. Now on this sidebar we want to go to the scale option. Click on Scale Proportionally because we want both dimensions to go the same way. And the figure that we had was 35.8 as a percentage. So if I put in there 135 roughly, and you click Apply, you'll see that the image is increased. Now if we move it and line it up with our 10 centimeter line, you'll see that it's actually quite close. So that's how we can increase the image to come to 10 centimeters. The way to check this properly would be to print that on an A4 and physically measure this line with a ruler to make sure it's 10 centimeters. Now you may notice that those lines look slightly different. It may be that I may not have measured that 1 kilometer line accurately, but you can do it more accurately if you zoom in. You can see what you're doing a bit better, and that gives you more accurate figures. So you could probably have measured the original line as accurately, a bit more accurately. Now the good thing about this is once you've got your figure of 35.8, we can import the other images that you have, either all together or one at a time. Same principle. You'll see that's at a slightly smaller scale, but as it's selected, that's still 135. I can click apply, and that then becomes the same size as the original one, as the one we've changed. Now, the question of the overlap, as I was telling you, is that you can match the two images together to stitch them up, or more images. To help you with this, you can reduce the opacity of one of them so you can see through it to match it up, and that's a function of within Inkscape or Illustrator, whichever package you're using. Well, that in a nutshell is how you scale your images to the size you want, either 1 to 10,000, 1 to 5,000. If you wanted to use 1 to 5,000, you'd use 20 centimeters for that line instead of 10 centimeters, and then match that up to that. That gives you a scale of 1 to 5,000. So I hope this has been helpful to you. Any questions, just drop me an email, and I'll be happy to help you. Thanks.